Okay, I'm going to start over with the announcements because we were muted apparently here and uh, might not be able to hear us if you're watching online. So in terms of announcements, wanted to note that on September 15, there will be a pre-hearing conference for the P&M acquisition case in docket number 25-00060. And those pre-hearing conferences are generally just for scheduling purposes, but I thought it was worth noting during these announcements. Also wanted to announce that the next open meeting that will be held on September 18 will be in a new location. So we've been talking about how we're going to have a temporary space in Santa Fe and a space in Albuquerque. Our space here in Santa Fe does not have a hearing room, and so we'll be borrowing one from MNerd and sometimes be in other locations for the time being. And the meeting next week and the location where I expect most of our open meetings will be is the Wendell Chino building, and it's located at 1220 South St. Francis. Also want to note that for the September 18 meeting, we will likely start early, potentially at 9:30. And so when you see the agenda, please take a close look at the logistical details on the agenda because they will be different than usual. Commissioners, do you have any announcements?
Mr. Chair, since we were muted, you might also reflect that we did approve the agenda as it stated earlier in the meeting.
Thank you. All right. Now for public comment. I don't see anybody in the room for public comment. Patrick, do we have anybody online?
Mr. Chair, we have two individuals online for public comment. I will go with the first one. That's okay.
Yes, please do.
Steve Zasnow, go ahead and unmute and provide your comment. Steve, are you there?
I'm sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to address, my name is Steve Sasno. I'm a resident of the Melody Ranch subdivision in Edgewood. And I just wanted to follow up on some comments. One of the residents here, I think, was in front of you folks a couple of weeks ago, Bruce. I don't know the gentleman's last name, but I know he was kind of going through some of the things that we've experienced here. And I just like to try and follow up for just a couple of brief minutes. This whole water debacle started in the middle of May. And the best I can approximate, we're about at 111 days of this so far. So we're closing in on almost 4 months. Last week, we had a total of about 11 hours of water availability. The previous week, we had about 10 and a half hours of water availability. So that basically breaks down to approximately 2 hours of water, 5 days per week. And the other 2 days a week, we literally have no water. Thankfully for the county, they've supplied us with a water tanker that's down the street, so we have some place to go, fill up containers and buckets full of water without having to pay for it. But there's a lot of senior citizens in this subdivision, including me and my wife. And I can only speak for somebody that's in their 60s, but lifting and transporting water on a daily basis is just not the easiest thing. My wife and I use these little 2.5 gallon containers, and filled up, that container weighs 24 pounds. I weighed it the other day. And you probably think, well, 24 pounds, it's not that bad. It's not that much. But I'll tell you what, when you've got arthritis in one hip and a torn rotator cuff in one shoulder, that 24 pounds feels more like 54 pounds. And this is day in, day out, hauling water back and forth. Having buckets and containers of water all over your house is one thing, but You got to remember too, you can't run a swamp cooler with a bucket of water. You cannot run a washing machine with a bucket of water. You cannot take a proper shower with a bucket of water. I mean, this list goes on and on and on. If this were a 2 or 3 day thing, it'd probably be considered just a major inconvenience. We're heading into 4 months. I mean, you know, this is an emergency in my eyes. I mean, we need help. In all of this time, over the entire summer, this water company has not reached out once to us as a group to try and explain what the problem was, what they were doing, any sort of time frame. Literally, not once in the entire summer. We haven't received one email. We haven't received a text, not even a regular letter, nothing. Nothing at all for 3.5 months. Calls that we make, they go unanswered. Voice mailboxes are full. You can't even leave a message, and half the time when you do, they don't call back. All we have to contact these folks, we have 2 numbers, and we have a P.O. box in Albuquerque. That's all the information we have. The only one thing that they do consistently is they send the bills out every month. And our bill has stayed the same, and I know in some cases they've even gone up, just from some of the comments I've seen on social media. 12 hours of water per week means we have availability of water 7% of the time. And we're basically still being charged for 100% water availability, and we're actually at 7%. Where's all that money going? They haven't even attempted to add water to the tank through deliveries in over a month. I don't know what they're doing to try and alleviate any of this. They've shown no concern for what we're going through. In my opinion, they've been lying to us from the beginning. I've got firsthand examples of this. This has been told to either myself or my wife, literally over the phone. When this all started, we were told at first that they believe that some of the residents here were selling water. And then we were told that someone's stealing water in the middle of the night. We were also told the fire department is filling up their tankers illegally. Then we were told the pump is broken. Then we were told they had to send off for a new part. After they fix that part, it'll be another 2 weeks. And this has gone on and on and on the entire summer. Even if we take the business side out of it for just a minute, what kind of a way is this to treat other people? I just don't understand what gives them the right to even do this. I mean, this is extremely difficult for all of us. In my opinion, it's physically demanding, and it's dangerous for seniors to be having to manage this on a daily basis. I can't imagine what some of the younger couples are doing with their children. There's teenagers here, there's small kids here. How do they get them off to school? How do they keep everything clean? Toilets, bathrooms. I mean, this is beyond ridiculous. I've seen a couple of comments, or a few documents rather, that the water company has submitted to the PRC in response, I guess, to some questions. And there's one sentence that I've seen repeated more than once. And if I may, I'd like to quote it right from them. This is directly from the water company. And I quote, "We are continuing all efforts and remain committed to finding a quick and viable solution," end quote. I mean, nothing could be farther from the truth. At first I saw this, is this some kind of attempt at humor from them? Because this is not at all what's happening. Not at all what's happening. There's approximately, I think, 75 single-family homes here that are being affected by this. We're all hurting. I mean, we need help. I mean, that's really all I got. I just wanted to follow up with some of Bruce's comments from a couple weeks ago, but that's all I've got. I appreciate your time.
Thank you for your comment.
Next, Ray Collins, are you there? Ray, are you there on Zoom? Mr. Chair, looked like he's unable to unmute his phone. It's the 288 number.
Okay, I think then in that case, maybe we can check back for public comment. We can keep going with the agenda, and maybe after the consent action items, we can check again for public comment. And if that doesn't work, we'll check again towards the end of the meeting. Okay, next item on the agenda is Employee of the Month. And Commissioner Nybert, your honors.
Mr. Chair, it is indeed my honor to announce this month's Employee of the Month. However, I don't know why the two of you saddled me with having to retrieve our belt from a gentleman who did not want to give it up easily. As you know, Justin wore it with pride. In fact, it's a well-worn belt, having been used for 31 days in August by Justin. But this month's recipient of the Employee of the Month, you can say that this award is long overdue for her. So that's one hint. She's an invaluable member of the Office of General Counsel. That's another hint. And she volunteers for lots of things. Maybe that's a third hint. So I'll read the recognition honoring this month's Employee of the Month. New Mexico Public Regulation Commission hereby recognizes Erica Avila Stefans as the New Mexico PRC Employee of the Month for September 2025. I can hear the clapping, but she's still not present. Whereas Ms. Stefans serves as a lawyers in the Office of General Counsel at the New Mexico Public Regulation Commission. And whereas Ms. Stefans has worked for the PRC for 3 years and 3 months, but who's counting? Whereas her nomination states, an EOM nomination and award is long overdue for Erica. For over 4 years, Erica has been an invaluable member of the OGC team and the agency as a whole. From volunteering for the eDocket Transition Project, co-chairing the agency-wide mentorship program, mentoring new OGC attorneys, and covering for and presiding OGC at open meetings, Erica's flexibility, professionalism, and cheerful disposition elevate everything she does. She gladly steps forward to help out and take new duties and is always available to lend an ear and advice to the OGC team on docket matters. Her dedication to OGC and the PRC serve as a great example of how to be a valuable team member. Whereas Ms. Stefans continues to serve the PRC with dedication and great ability, now, therefore, be it resolved that the New Mexico Public Regulation Commission of the State of New Mexico congratulates Ms. Stefans on her selection as Employee of the Month for September 2025, issued under seal of the Commission at Santa Fe, New Mexico, this 4th day of September 2025. With that, if she will come forward and accept her belt, and we certainly expect her to model it, as did the former. How stylish.
So now we're going to follow that up with the approval of the prior meeting minutes, which we don't expect to be as exciting. So commissioners, we have minutes for the regular open meeting that was held on August 7, 2025. Are there any comments or motion to approve the minutes?
I'll move to approve the minutes that are in board effect. I do have a comment. Wait for a second.
I'll second.
Just request for Melissa Byers, if you could adjust your template, members present section, Commissioner Aguilera's chair. So I've been making that edit faithfully for a little while. And then the other edit I did is I was hoping to point out that only in New Mexico do we celebrate 811 Day on August 8th instead of the 11th. So I made that edit.
Okay. So that edit is in board effect, and so I think that's what we have a motion and a second on. So I think we're ready for a vote.
Commissioner Nyberg,
Yes.
Commissioner Aguilera,
Yes.
Commissioner O'Connell.
Yes.
The motion to approve the August 7, 2025 regular open meeting minutes as edited passes unanimously, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Okay, so now on to the consent action items. We have 3 of them, and I do have a comment on one of them, but maybe we can just talk about them after making a motion. I'll move to approve the consent action items.
Second.
Okay. One of the items on here is docket number 25-00041 UT. And this is in order classifying this docket as a non-adjudicatory docket to facilitate discussion with stakeholders. So the order says that the commission is commencing a non-adjudicatory notice inquiry to consider a potential rulemaking. I want to clarify that this is not the commission opening a rulemaking. It's a procedural docket so we can facilitate discussions with stakeholders.
Yeah, thank you for making that clarification. That's important to point out.
Okay, I think with that, we're ready for a vote.
Commissioner O'Connell,
Yes.
Commissioner Aguilera,
Yes.
Commissioner Nyberg.
Yes.
The motion to approve the consent action items passes unanimously, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. So now we're on to the regular action items section of our agenda, and we have with us Mr. Russell Fisk to manage the discussion for the first item.
Morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. So the first item concerns P&M's requests for variances from the amended interconnection rule. A few years ago, the commission granted variances from 3 sections out of the amended rule to P&M for its Albuquerque downtown network, which is a little different from the rest of its network. It's a spot network. The commission also last fall granted extensions, 2-year extensions of those variances on 2 conditions. One, that that P&M meet with the city of Albuquerque concerning the city of Albuquerque's current distributed generation and any plans that they had, so that P&M could take that into account in terms of planning for the future. And that the other condition was that P&M would file an application for a plan for compliance with the rule. They did that. P&M filed an application at the beginning of this year. This order would grant the application. The specifics of the application are that P&M did the analyses that they were required to do by the commission's order from last fall. They did cost benefit analyses of 5 different scenarios for upgrading the Albuquerque downtown network to come into compliance with the rule. And they found that all of these cost benefit analyses showed that the costs outweigh the benefits. So what they propose is that going forward, that the variances would continue past their current expiration date, which is November 1st, 2026, and that they would regularly, PNM would regularly report to the commission as technology improves, because it might become cost effective. This application was opposed by REIA, Renewable Energy Industries Association of New Mexico, and I believe CCSA. I don't recall. Anyhow, they said the application was not specific enough, that there were not enough specifics regarding the cost benefit analyses, and that there was also they included a declaration from a representative of the city who testified that provided a declaration that the city has plans to expand its downtown solar, that it has to curtail as a result of the current condition of the Albuquerque downtown network. But this proposed order would find that that PNM has complied with the conditions of last fall's order from November 1st, that it has shown that the cost benefit, by doing various cost benefit analyses of different types of upgrades, that at this time the costs outweigh the benefits. It would not extend the variances indefinitely into the future, but 2 years beyond November 1st, 2026 to November 1st, 2028, obviously, and would require annual reporting as PNM had offered regarding new technologies and how those would affect the cost benefit analyses. And then I provided you yesterday with some revisions from Commissioner Nyberg. And there were already revisions, specifically paragraph 21 from Commissioner O'Connell, which added a requirement that PNM look at the possibility of using a non-export system as a potential solution for the special problems of the ADN. And so that was added in the earlier revisions. And with that, I will take any questions.
Happy to get started unless somebody else. The requirement to consider the non-export system helps me a lot, because I have difficulty here with the cost benefit analysis, and it seems like PNM has used a value for the benefit of solar that there was really no opportunity to challenge. And they came up with a value of $5 per megawatt hour, and then revised it to $1 a megawatt hour. And that makes it difficult for me to find the cost benefit analysis credible. And I think we should have set that for hearing. I think when we have a cost benefit analysis like this, I think a hearing is a good venue to discuss whether the inputs that are being used are appropriate. And so I still have trouble with granting the variance, because I just questioned whether the cost benefit analysis was done in good faith. And I agree that PNM should also consider a non-export system. You know, they filed this in January, and here we are in September talking about this, and so it's almost worth looking to see what the next report is going to would say, because it's nearby. So I think for me, adding this requirement to consider the non-export system helps a lot. I'm still not sure that an extension for an additional 2 years beyond November 1, 2026 is warranted, absent cost benefit analysis that we feel comfortable is accurate. I think there are good arguments, right, that if it's not cost effective, maybe we should not be investing in it. But I, at this point, don't feel comfortable agreeing with that conclusion. Open it up to see what other comments commissioners have.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and go next. Just broadly, and I thought we've communicated this, but need to communicate it again, just asking for an indefinite extension of variances is probably not something you should expect, so don't ask for it. Just because the downtown network is unique and difficult doesn't mean you get to say, oh, I tried and I give up, which is what this looks like PNM is saying. I very much appreciate your comments, Commissioner, on the cost benefit analysis and length of extension. I was having a problem with that too. 2 years seems kind of long. Where I think I'm okay with that is if you believe what PNM is saying, they want to work with their customers and stakeholders, so there is pressure on them to solve this problem. I don't think they should read this non-export system as just one more box to check. For me, it's a acknowledgement that technology solutions are evolving. So you've got this weird downtown network that probably you wouldn't repeat that design again. That doesn't mean it's a locked thing that, oh, well, we're never going to change it. What it means is lean into new solutions and new technologies as they present themselves to actually make progress on this problem, instead of asking us for a indefinite extension on something as important as the downtown Albuquerque network. So anyway, just wanted to express that this is the kind of filing that we get from utilities that doesn't match what they say in public, and also doesn't match looking at state of New Mexico. City of Albuquerque is an important part of the state of New Mexico. Downtown Albuquerque is an important part of the city of Albuquerque. So we tried, oh well, isn't a good thing to ask for. So anyway, that's how I interpreted this thing. And again, I agree with you. 2 years feels like too long, but if they truly are in good faith working with City of Albuquerque, trying to find solutions based on technology that's available today that might not have been available yesterday, progress is possible.
Mr. Chair, I was reviewing this more to make sure that the order was clear in what we said, but in light of the discussion, it seems to me that maybe we ought to maybe provide some beefed up language with what we expect in those annual reports if we're going to grant the extension, and not just kick the ball down the road, but have some expectation as to what we really want to see in November 2026, November of 2027. And of course, it ends in November 2028. But you know, what is it that we want them to see, what is it we expect them to do, and what do we want to see them working on? And maybe, I mean, I'm happy with the language that we have in front of us, but if there's something else that we need to communicate to P&M, we probably ought to put it in this order. And maybe have some expectations so that we don't just get a report in a year that says, well, we met with the city of Albuquerque once and we can't do what they suggested. Which is maybe what we're gonna see. So maybe there ought to be some additional language put in that, you know, we're expecting more than just a perfunctory review of the situation in the next 2 years, 2026 and 2027, when they do the reports.
I really appreciated your edits because you did succeed in making this more on the point and more clear. I also know P&M's here and I'm seeing fingers flying, so I'm hoping communication's happening. I want to make the communication bigger than just to P&M. It's also make sure City of Albuquerque knows that they're an important partner in this event. So how they report out their experience matters to me too. So it's not just what P&M does, but there is some agency there with City of Albuquerque. And I'd rather just broadly that in a situation like this where a solution isn't obvious, people work it out. So I don't know how to draft that, but I appreciate your suggestion. I just don't have a good solution at the moment. And I think voting on the order is probably the most valuable thing I can do at this moment.
Well, maybe our discussion will get heard by P&M and maybe even the city of Albuquerque and reflect our interest in making sure that those reports reflect some progress and not simply report that things just can't be done. That they've really looked into it. Maybe it can't be done, but we need more than just some testimony to that effect. We need some backup. So maybe that message is getting through and we don't need to revise the order, but hopefully they're listening.
Well, the current variance runs through November 1st of 2026. And so that's a year from now. It seems to me that it might be premature to grant another 2-year extension today that would go through November 1st of 2028. And so I think that, you know, if P&M does need another 2-year variance from this, I think they could also request it as we get closer to November 1st, 2026 and have more information. You know, like I said, I think the non-export system consideration is valuable. I think it's worth talking to stakeholders about what appropriate assumptions are to use in the cost benefit analysis. Like I said, I don't, you know, I won't push for a solution that's not cost effective. And, you know, that might be the case here. I don't know. So one suggestion I have is to not grant the waiver at this time, given that it's premature. You know, I think that if another approach we could have taken is set this for hearing in January and then discuss the cost benefit analysis, although also not confident that the outcome would have been different. But maybe one thing that we can do for now is encourage the discussions that Commissioner O'Connell has stated. And then require a consideration of the non-export systems in consultation with stakeholders, and then require another response before the existing variance request expires on November 1st, 2026.
Yeah, that makes sense to me, that somehow getting another report out before considering the variance at Designs.
Yes.
And then it's funny, this order is pretty simple and direct, so it's almost as simple as going from application is granted to application is denied and adding a sentence on it, right? I mean. So what I would be in favor of it is just, let's vote on instructions on how to modify this order, and then let Russell take the ball from there. Or, Commissioner Nyberg, you've done a lot of good work on this. If you want to work with Russell, and we're happy with that too.
Would another option be to hold it in abeyance for a period of time for P&M to try to digest and implement, or at least have those discussions that you're wanting? And if at the conclusion of that, they need more time than November 2026, we could take that up at a later point and just keep this in abeyance. I don't know if that's something that could be done or that we do, but no action on it. If we deny it, it's gone. They'd have to do the whole thing over again, right? We hold it in abeyance, it's still at least on the shelf, but it's not approved. And I guess our message is, if you want us to act on it, you're gonna have to come forth with more evidence that it's really needed, and give us a realistic time frame when these things can occur, if at all. And maybe get buy-in from the city of Albuquerque as well. I don't know what you think, Mr. Fisk, on that, but
Yes, the commission could do that. And I guess one thing that this order does is it lets P&M know, it includes a decision that the commission finds that the conditions have been met for it to go through November 1st. But since that's just a finding, I think the commission could just, Scott, do we need something to say we found that the conditions are met, or I have that finding in this order, but if the commission doesn't want to issue an order, maybe we can just state that the conditions are met, so it will go through November 1st. In other words, the order that was issued November 1st said, we'll give you this extension through November 1st, 2026, if you file your application and meet with the city. And they said they filed their application, met with the city. So one of the things this order did was to say, okay, you've met those conditions. But I don't know that we have to expressly state that. Especially if they hear that we found what they did.
I think you could just issue an order that says conditions have been met, and then the other language that you were talking about, not, and postponing a decision on whether you're going to grant the variance for a longer time. Right. I mean, we've kind of got it on the record now that the commission has said the condition's been met, so go ahead, but it's probably cleaner if it's in some kind of an order. And you could even, if you wanted to put something in that order about by when you would want to or I'm not sure, I can't remember if it says it already, when they're supposed to file the next report, but by when you wanted to hear back from them in order to be able to consider whether you're gonna grant an extension.
The report regarding the non-export, due November 4th. And then the more general reporting, the first one is due January 1st.
I'd be happy to work with Mr. Fisk on paring the order down to that one finding and then holding the variance request in abeyance pending further reports back to us from PNM. That's okay with Mr. Fisk.
That's fine. I just want to make sure, would we do that, Scott, by having the commission delegate it to Commissioner Nybert for a single signature, or would we just work together and bring it back on the 18th?
I think that's up to the commissioners.
I don't think time's imperative on this, so
Yeah, I would guess with the discussion we've had and the work that's already been done. You, Commissioner Nybert and Russell Fisk can put together an order that probably shows up on consent the next meeting. Because we've had the discussion, right? So now we're just taking the time to write it correctly.
Okay, so I don't think we need any kind of motion then. Okay. Thank you. And so as has been happening recently, Mr. Fisk is dominating the regular action item section, so you can stay in the chair and we can talk about the next item.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. This next item, 24-154 UT, concerns EPE's application for approval of its energy efficiency and load management plan for 2025 to 2027. The commission has already issued its final order regarding approving the plan back in May. But since then, the EPE revised its annual report for the previous period and found that the decrease to the efficient use of energy, efficient use, what is it? EUERF, efficient use of energy recovery factor. I think they want to decrease that because there was an underage in their spending, and they state in their motion that they don't see a way to use that money. So they underspent for the period that ended in 2024 for various reasons. And they could try to spend that in the next plan, but they said it would really make more sense to try to return that to the customers by reducing the EUERF. And that amount is, the underage is about $2.8 million. This was on the agenda a few weeks ago, and we discovered that there might be a error in the calculation. So we issued a bench request. As it turns out, there was an error in the working papers for the work papers for the advice notice 312, but it didn't actually carry through to the calculation. So there, in the bench request, they said we still want the same. They still want the same number. I think it's 3.4171 for the EUERF. But they did file a correction so that the tariff shows the correct work paper. So I recommend that the commission grant the motion.
Thank you. I don't have any questions or comments, commissioners.
I would move to adopt the motion.
I'll say. Second from Commissioner Nybert.
Commissioner O'Connell,
Yes.
Commissioner Aguilar,
Yes.
Commissioner Nybert.
yes.
Russell, can you hit your?
Is that mine? Oh,
Thanks. The motion to approve the order in 24-00154 UT passes unanimously, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
it never ends. Uh,
So we could move on to the third item.
Don't manifest that.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, this matter would be, it has no docket number yet. I proposed an order that would open a new docket and issue an order to show cause against SVOE LLC, which is a subscriber organization in the community solar program that has 8 projects that have been selected to go forward in the program. SVOE recently, through its now 100% owner, apparently, Sunvest, contacted Incline, our project administrator, and informed them back in April that they were going to buy out their local partner, Osceola, aka OE Solar, and that Sunvest would become a 100% owner of SVOE. That potentially violates a bid commitment that they made in their application, which was that they would that Sunvest would be only a 50% owner, and that the other 50% would be owned by Osceola, which is a local business and a resident business. At first, in their communications, which will be, if this order is adopted, which will be attached to the order, the communications with Incline, they said they were going to look for another local residential partner. But then in August, they said they haven't found one and they want to go forward as a 100% owner. This order to show cause would require SVOE to show cause why they shouldn't be found in violation of the bid commitment to be 50% owned by resident business. And why they shouldn't be subject to administrative penalties, including but not limited to monetary penalties, rescoring and re-ranking of SVOE selected bids, or disqualification from the program. And it would give SVOE 20 days to respond, and then there would be an additional period of time to October 8th for staff. Staff would be required to file a response or reply to SVOE's response, and any other interested person, such as other subscriber organizations, could also file a reply. And with that, I will take any.
I think and Mr. Fisk and I corresponded on this last week. But is there, I'm trying to think back to the act, is there a requirement in the statute that there be a local part owner?
Yes, the Community Solar Act requires that the commission adopt rules for selection of projects. And it specifically refers to section 13-121 of the procurement code. And it requires the commission to take into account the resident business status or Native American resident business status of potential projects. So the commission did that by adopting it in the project selection portion of the community solar rule. And then when the RFP was issued, there was a more specific way of taking that into account. And so, yes, The answer is yes.
Yeah, thank you. And it's been a long week. I'm having trouble articulating my questions this week, I think. But let me provide more context. Some of these projects might be sold at some point in the future. And so that's what I'm thinking about is, are we precluding them from being sold to a non-resident business? So I understand that we are required to take into account as we're evaluating the bids, but going forward, once the project is operational, is an owner of these projects precluded per the act from not having a partnership with a non-resident owner?
Mr. Chairman. This goes to the issue of, and this is something that was something I brought up yesterday. Although I had also addressed it in my memo, which is what is the duration of these big commitments? The subscriber organizations are aware they can sell, and we expect that many do and many will sell their interests. But the question is, if that sale results in a violation of the bid commitment, well, it depends on what stage they're at. Now, in my memo to you, I had said that, our RFP didn't have a specific timing requirement on the resident business, the specific duration for meeting that. And yesterday I was saying, Incline recommends we actually use mechanical completion as the date instead of requiring that there be a resident business throughout the entire operation of the facility. And I think that would be a good idea. The commission doesn't have to decide that here because either way, SVOE is out of compliance now. None of their 8 projects are really very close to mechanical completion. They're all in the interconnection application or study stage. So the commission wouldn't have to decide that here. But that's something to keep in mind. The commission could be silent about that because either way, it doesn't really matter for this case.
Yeah, I think Commissioner Aguilera also hit on something that I was thinking about. And for me, the question today is what's the right vehicle? Expect ownership's going to change. This also activated something that frankly I was concerned about when we were looking at changing the form of, if a customer had to fill out a form to change projects or whatever. And it's really about making sure customers are well informed of the benefits of the project they're subscribing to. So for me, it just sounds scary, order to show cause, but I think this is just something that in the world and lifetime of community solar is just another thing that we're going to have to hash out. I think it'd be better to hash it out in an open, transparent way. So opening a docket, that part of the order, totally agree with. Order to show cause sounds scary, but maybe that's the right thing to do in terms of what vehicle to have this open, transparent discussion so we can provide clarity for everybody. Because again, this isn't the first time, or it's not the last time that one of these projects is going to change hands. So that's why I was in favor of keeping it on the agenda, because I think, well, let's just get an open process started, however that should happen. And then I'm going to leave it to Commissioners Aguilera and Nybert, who are better skilled at knowing what the right vehicle is.
Mr. Chair, in that regard, I wonder what's scarier, an investigation or an order to show cause. And it seems to me that being investigated may be more scarier than an order to show cause. So I agree with Mr. Fisk that maybe the preferred vehicle would be the order to show cause, allowing them to come forward with evidence, as opposed to us going to them, investigating their actions. We're giving them an opportunity to tell us that our suspicion is wrong. Again, it just starts a process. With all the things that are going on in this new world that I find myself in, regulating monopolies and learning a little bit about monopolistic behavior, this and that. It seems to me that part of our duty is to make sure that we have a level playing field. And that's what really cries out to me on this is, do we have a level playing field? And if our suspicion is correct, maybe this company would not have qualified or would have not made the cut on these particular projects. And so that's concerning to me, is that we need to also make sure that we maintain a level playing field among the actors in this. And so I think we need to give them a chance to respond, and we need to take up the issue if there's not a legitimate reason why they don't have a local community partner. And for the life of me, I don't know why their legal counsel would have recommended the course of action that they appear to be on, but that's neither here nor there. But I would agree with issuing the order to show cause and get their information and then see what they have to say.
Yeah, and I think you said it correctly, Commissioner O'Connell, about the proper vehicle, because that is kind of the discussion that Mr. Fisk and I were having, is what is the right vehicle. And I would not go as far as to say that the company here is out of compliance, because we have a recommendation from Incline as to, when the change of ownership would be okay. And I do think we need a threshold for that, and agree that it should be a transparent process. And I think where I trip up a little bit is whether the recommendation from Incline as to when the threshold should be can actually dictate whether our finding right now as to whether they are in compliance or not. Because it seems to me that it might not be clear right now what our threshold is. And so it would be good to have other stakeholders' input on that. And the reason I have trouble with the show cause there is because there is a potential for a penalty. And one, I'm not sure if procedurally other entities would be able to participate in that. And even if they could, it might not be a good idea to invite competitors to come into a show cause docket, and then they might be able to argue for, yes, you definitely should penalize this company, or exclude them from the selected list, and then the competitors would be able to move in. And so what I had asked Mr. Fisk is notifying the company that they should file a variance, and then we would be able to consider what the threshold should be. And then if we find that they have not complied because they've lost a local partner before they are allowed to, then we can issue a show cause order. So anyway, that's what I was trying to figure out, is facilitate some kind of venue so that we can have the discussion and establish a threshold. And then we have a clear answer, I think.
Mr. Chair, I'm not sure how a variance in this case would operate. You're alleviating the implementation of a rule, but this is really a scoring mechanism for being selected as the party who gets the authority to move forward on a project. A variance doesn't seem like it would be the proper vehicle. I don't know. What are we granting a variance for?
Yeah, and this is actually a little bit deeper into the conversation that I had with Mr. Fisk about, I think it probably would be a variance from the RFP. And we talked about whether, whether that constitutes a commission rule or order, and so that's kind of some background there. But I toss that out as an idea. I don't know for sure that that's the right vehicle. I was more thinking that we should have a conversation and somehow create a process where we establish the line that defines, because we don't want, we want to have a line because I am concerned that if we were to just allow this that is going on right now, that other companies might then want to do the same thing and just get a local partner temporarily and then, end that partnership.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I think there is a law. Yeah, and you have these requirements and they're scored based on what they bring to the table. And if those conditions are not met, and that throws off the scoring, yeah, it may be harsh, but I mean, we have to make sure that the playing field was level. And these companies that want to move forward with these projects, they need to, if they want the local partner, and I don't think they're required to have the local partner, but if they want the local partner to get a better score, they better have a local partner that they can count on. And if you have a local partner that you can't count on and they drop out later, then that was decisions you made. We don't know what all the facts and circumstances are. That's why we're issuing an order to show causes to try to get those things. But it seems to me that there is a line, and that if we allow this to happen, or if we try to modify the RFP, then I would question whether the competitors would have a potential action against us for that process. But I think there is a line, and it's there in the RFP process. They were scored based on these criteria. Criteria aren't existent, then they wouldn't have been scored that highly. And so maybe we'll have to deal with other issues that come out of this. But right now, we're just asking for information to see what the facts are. And if the facts result in issues, then we'll have to deal with those things. But I think there is a line. I think the RFP and our orders or our rules set forth a line and said, if you want these additional points, then do this. If you want those points, do that. And incline scored them accordingly. So
the line then is at the RFP. So then if you received points for having a resident business as a partner, then you have to maintain that throughout the life of the project.
I don't think we have to say that today, but I think, and that may be the problem, because I don't think this commission ever intended that, even though it may be in the rule. I've not looked specifically at the rule, but certainly you want, as Incline stated, you want that local partner to at least be present through the building of the project. You want some local benefits to arrive. That's why the bills said, please have some local or please acknowledge that there should be some local buy-in or some preferences, if you will, given to New Mexico businesses on this stuff. So I would, you know, I think if you're looking at a line there, it certainly ought to be at least where Incline's suggesting. If our rule says for the life of the project, then we probably need to open up the rule and change that, because I think that's not only unrealistic, but it doesn't really address the issues that are set forth in the statute. I don't think the statute contemplated that people had to be locked into the business relationship from now till the end of the project. But I do think they wanted to give New Mexico businesses an opportunity and a preference in participating in these types of projects. And we did so, or the commission did so, by putting that forth in the rule and allowed extra credit, if you will, to be given if you had a local participant, which put the onus on the company to make sure that they got a local company that they could depend on. And apparently this one wasn't dependable. That's Sun Valley's assessment, not mine. Sun Valley's assessment that this outfit that they picked wasn't coming forth with their end of the bargain, so to speak. So I would issue the show cause order and see what comes in and deal with whatever comes up as a result of that information. I wouldn't want to prejudge that stuff at this point.
Yeah. I'm still confused about what the line is, because you mentioned that it's the RFP and then also and that's one line. And then the other one is what Incline suggested, which has to do with the material thing. And so to me, it's not clear that there is a line. And I do think both could be reasonable. I really do see that. I probably would favor the one that is more flexible to being able to change ownership, but in the future. But I do see how having receiving points through the RFP and then having that requirement carry on for the life of the project, I also see how that would be reasonable. But and so I don't necessarily want to get caught up on the proper vehicle. I'm wondering whether other stakeholders would be able to intervene in a show cause proceeding.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, yes. And this, the order by giving an opportunity to reply to the order to show cause, that would let other subscriber organizations or other interested persons reply. We could add a requirement for a motion to intervene date at this point, or that could be done later. It doesn't actually contemplate intervention, although people could under our rule. It just contemplates a reply to SBOE's response. But we could add intervention we could put a deadline in there for intervention as well.
Yeah, because for a developer, it cuts both ways. You can either have a partner and you receive extra points, and you might be on the losing end at some point if that partnership doesn't work out. Or you can be a local business, you might be planning to sell in the future, or maybe you're not. And so I just feel like the developers might have a different perspective. And for me, it would be beneficial to hear from them. I think if you're comfortable, Commissioner Nybert, that the show cause is the proper vehicle, that works for me as well.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with the order of show cause. I do have one question of council. Intervention is not a right. We have some discretion as to whether we allow people to intervene in dockets. Is that correct?
Commissioner Nybert, we often, our rule doesn't provide, it does provide for intervention and, but doesn't state whether there's a right to intervene in all types of cases. Sometimes in some types of cases, like petition cases, we often set a date for a motion to intervene. But in other cases, we don't. And sometimes we get motions to intervene anyway. So there isn't a hard and fast rule about when there's a right to intervene and when there is not, because there are certain cases of a limited scope where we might allow just a reply or a response and not allow intervention because it's going to be a shorter proceeding or something like that. So you could go either way here.
Well, I'd hate to see this turn into a free-for-all, at least at the initial outset, because really we're just asking for information. And it's going to be later on that maybe if the information pans out one way, there may be more interest in the case, but right now we're just asking for information. So I certainly would want to see us limit intervention or not accept the request to intervene if we have that discretion, and just let them submit what they want to submit, and then we take it up. And later on, the parties want to intervene, and that I guess we could deal with that. I suspect we'd probably at that point refer it to a hearing examiner and all that for hearing, but right now I'm just interested in getting information, and I don't think intervention is really what we'd want to see. Certainly wouldn't want to see a free-for-all, because I mean, I imagine there were probably other people who received an identical or lesser score that might be very interested in this still. There's 8 projects. I assume that at least there's somebody out there that might have some vested interest in seeing this through. But right now, I don't think I want to hear from them. Later on, we may, but right now. So I hope that we have the discretion to, if they ask to intervene, to just simply say no. That's what I'd prefer.
Well, I'm gonna refer that to Scott, because this is something we've been discussing about, like, with different types of cases. Sometimes we set an intervention date, sometimes we don't. Sometimes people intervene anyway. So like I said, it does, I mean, obviously in our bigger cases, rate cases and things like that, of course, there's an intervention date. Sometimes in our smaller cases, we will just ask for a response to a petition or something like that. So it depends on how the commission wants to handle this particular matter.
Yeah, and I don't want to, I don't think we need to delay this. I'll just say on my end that I would want to hear what other developers want to say in making a decision here. And so I think that a petition or a variance or some other vehicle would be better, because this one is discussing about apparent violations of the bid commitments, and I'm just concerned that I do want to invite others to weigh in on the conversation, but I'm concerned about others weighing in on a show cause order because of the harm that it could cause to the company. And it just not sure about the incentives that others might have on making comments in response to these specific circumstances. And so, yeah, but I don't think we need to delay this. So I think if the commission is ready for a motion.
I move to approve the potential order opening docket and order to show cause.
Second.
Okay, I think we're ready for a vote.
Commissioner Aguilera,
No, and I'll explain.
Commissioner O'Connell,
Yes.
Commissioner Nyberg.
Yes.
The motion to approve, the potential order opening docket and order to show cause in 25000 XXUT as unnumbered passes on a vote of 2 yes and 1 no.
And
I think the word potential stated, what is that? I think it's just order opening and not order to show cause. So I think the word potential should be.
Potential to order.
True. You want me to restate it? The order opening docket and order show cause in the as yet unnumbered 25-000 XXUT passes on a vote of 2 yeses and 1 no.
thank you. And at the risk of sounding like a broken record, I do think this is a good conversation that we need to have because it's not the first time this is going to happen. And so, just wanted to make sure that we have a venue where we can receive input from other developers. And so I didn't think this was the best one, but I do support the general outcome of investigating and coming to a solution on this so that we could provide clear guidance to developers. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that. It's just my old adage from civil engineering is we can't finish if we don't start.
I would add that we probably need to look at the rule, and if it needs to be revised, then that might be the mechanism to bring in what all the developers think about should it be life of the project, should it be operational, should it be something else, but I don't think anybody contemplated it would be a forever deal. So if our rule says forever, we probably need to do something about it.
Just a note, the rule isn't that specific. It's actually the RFP provision. And the RFP provision is actually a little bit unclear because it uses the term, this is for the blanket statement at the beginning of all the bid commitments. It says, for the duration of the community solar facility contract. Didn't end up being a type of contract that we have. So we did some interpretation. The RFP was actually not drafted by Incline, it was drafted by another contractor that we hired. And so Incline interpreted that to mean, the life of the project, but they were not sure of that because we don't have something called a community solar facility project contract. There's a contract between, there's a subscriber organization contract, and that does go through the life of the operating life of the project. But I think because it's not totally clear what that means, I think there's room to say, especially to be more lenient, to say mechanical completion is really more reasonable way to interpret it and apply it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Fisk. Been sitting there for a little while. All right, so now we're on to the discussion section of the agenda, and we have a presentation by Mr. Eugene Evans regarding the broadband support that the commission is able to provide thanks to the legislature and taxpayers. Mr. Evans, I will turn it over to you.
Morning, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. First of all, thank you for your time this morning, Chairman Aguilera and Commissioners. And a brief introduction. My name is Eugene Evans. I'm the Telecommunication Bureau Chief for the Utility Division, and in the same capacity, I'm the Telecommunication Engineer as well. I normally will give these presentations each year for our broadband program funding. And before I start my presentation, though, I think it's behoove me to at least give a couple asterisks of some kind of a couple late developments that that I received to do a little had to do a little changes to my presentation in some ways. Late developments that I've referred to that came into the commission late last week from our partner in agency of the Office of Broadband Access and Expansion about some possible overlapping projects. Also, another development that came in late yesterday afternoon from one of our applicants, and this is from Penasco Valley Telephone Co-op, who was told lately that they received a federal rural utility service reconnect fund late. First they was denied, and now they been reconsidered. So they had is going to put an official withdrawal on their project as well. So that in itself had me to make a lot of little short alterations to my presentation this morning. So I thought I need to at least say that before I get into my presentation. Let me see if I can start that. Now, first of all, we probably, the commission, we probably will have to have some internal discussions on how these, late developments will change or affect our awards moving forward this year and also moving forward for the years to come. But we can have that discussion later if you may. Let me see if I can share my screen here to start my presentation.
Hey, Eugene, actually, we can hear you, but it's a little bit low. Wondering if,
Is that better? Is that better? Is
yeah,
that better?
that is better, though I'm
Right.
not entirely sure that it's on your end. Would somebody mind getting IT and just having them put the volume up a bit?
I have asked IT to see if they can raise the volume, Mr. Chair. Eugene, I would just suggest getting closer to your microphone.
That's what I'm going to do. Let's see if I can get my presentation here. Okay, can you see my presentation? Start of it.
No, we can't.
It should be coming on shortly. Is it up now?
It's not.
Okay.
So we can let's wait a couple of minutes, and Eugene, maybe you can keep trying to figure that out. If not, maybe you could, if you could send it to Patrick, maybe he could put it up.
All right, let me do it that
We'll
way
take
then.
actually a 5-minute break.
I
So
appreciate that. I'm sorry.
yeah, we'll take a 5-minute break and reconvene at 11:36.
Thank you. Why is Hmm. Patrick, show me where the fuck is she? Eh.
Hey, would you mute your,
Can can you share that to Patrick? Are you hear me? Okay, okay, so he's able to put that on for me. And what seems to be with my audio?
So Eugene, when we come back, I'm going to check for public comment. I said I would do that earlier in the meeting and then I forgot. And I think we have them online. So once we come back and I'll take that public comment. So if you're the public commenter, I'll give you the opportunity very soon. And sorry that I forgot earlier. Okay, and I think we're back. Eugene, do you have what you need? And again, I'm gonna take the public comment first because they've been waiting.
Yes, I do. I think Patrick's will have my presentation done, so I'll go
Okay.
ahead and have public presentation.
Okay, so let's go ahead and take the public comment first. I said I was gonna check after the consent action section and then I forgot. But I understand that we have the public commenter on, so if you could please provide your comment.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Please go ahead.
All right, perfect. My name is Ray Collins, and I would like to discuss 2554 UT. I know you guys have heard from other people, in the neighborhood about the Melody Ranch water situation. Just wanted to comment, and I appreciate this time. One of the things that may not have been presented was the fact that during this whole debacle, we have still been receiving monthly bills. Logic would dictate that they would be for lower usage and lower amounts, considering that we haven't had water for most of the time. That's not the case. My bill for July, when we had hardly maybe 10 hours of water the whole month, and my bill was exactly the same, and they said I used the exact same amount that I have over the previous years. So the billing is fraudulent and still going on. So it gets frustrating when we hear that there's lots of things going on behind the scenes, and there's work towards a resolution, but we're still left in the dark. The water company doesn't give us any information. The last communication from PRC that we received was the August 8th, which talked about possible solutions, but we haven't heard anything since. So we're left in the dark. We're wondering if there's going to be a resolution and when and what that might look like. We've had to suffer through the summer, which has been difficult, but now we've got winter approaching, and nobody's talking about, okay, great, what happens when we get freezes and everyone in the neighborhoods, their pipes all burst? I mean, who do we send our plumbing bills to? Because it's negligence of the water company, not us, that is going to cause this mass problem. Who pays for that? We shouldn't have to foot the bill, because this is the water company's negligence that's going to cause it. So that's now our concern looking forward is, okay, who's going to help us if this goes into the winter? I mean, I have a hard time keeping my pipes from freezing on certain days in the winter already. With no pressure, yeah, good luck. It's going to happen, and it's going to cause lots of damage. Like I said, we feel that there's a lot of conversations going on about our situation, and we've heard that there's lots of conversations, but we're not getting the feeling that there's a resolution coming. I mean, even if we wanted to leave the neighborhood because there's no water, well, we couldn't even sell our houses right now because the property values are worthless. There's no water in the neighborhood, and everybody knows it. We start to think, if this was happening in a more prominent neighborhood, Santa Fe or something, if this problem would have gone on this long. So I apologize. We've been living through this for a while, so I'm kind of getting flustered, even though I had a statement laid out. Just want the commissioners to know that we're tired, we're frustrated, we're feeling to the point of hopeless. We feel like we've been abandoned by the system, and it's a lot of politics going on, and no resolution is coming. And I'm sure that isn't the case, but that's the way it feels. We're just tired, and we would hope that this can be resolved before winter so that we don't have to suffer even more, because it's been hard already. And I just wanted to convey that to the commission so that hopefully somebody will listen and take it. I know that there's a lot of causes and issues in front of the PRC, and I know they have a lot to deal with, but it seems like our situation and situations like ours should be at the top of the list for being dealt with. And from what we're seeing and what we're hearing, which is nothing, we don't get that feeling. And we just want to let you guys know that we need the help. We appreciate everything that's been happening, conversations, but now we need action, and we need this resolved. And I appreciate your time, and thank you for listening.
We appreciate your comment. Thank you. Eugene,
Are you ready? Can you hear me?
yes, we can hear you. Please
There.
go ahead.
Okay. Thank you, Patrick. As we said, in a matter of the application for the 2025-26 broadband program support from the State Universal Service Fund per the 17.11.10.31 NMAC, and the docket number is 2500029 UT. Next slide, dear Patrick. Again, next slide. Okay. As an introduction, I need to give a little bit of a history, and that is under the New Mexico AC 171110.31 subject G and 3, staff must present an analysis of broadband award applications to the commission by September the 1st. Now, this presentation fulfills that requirement. In this year, we have one applicant with two proposed project applications. Two projects total cost was about $3,824,906.50. Now, the requested fund was only $2,868,679.88, and with a matching fund of $956,226. Now, we also have referred to as one applicant with 11 proposed maintenance applications, which is our first of this year for the commission. And those 11 maintenance application total cost was $751,717, which they're going to request maintenance funds for only $483,694. With the two projects and 11 maintenance, total cost would be $3,352,373.88. And in this year's State Rural University Service Fund available for the 25-26 will be approximately $21 million, $989,663. Now, the SRUS rule amended by the Commission, final order in case 17-00077 UT on December the 7th, 2017, established a deadline of May 1st for filing application for broadband program support for the following year. Now, the Telecom Bureau shall review and summarize all timely applications. Next slide. If you can see, I placed a map of New Mexico and all the particular counties that is involved with this year underlined. And so during the period of May 1st to May 31st of 2025, the following applicant submitted broadband application to qualify for the 2025-2026 broadband program support. And that is New Mexico Surf, Inc., in the counties of Torrance and Santa Fe, and Smith Bagley in the county of San Juan, McKinley County, Siblia, as well as Sandoval. Next slide, please. Now, the rural area determination, the commission may classify a project area as rural if, one, the rural classification, the area resembles a rural area. Two, the broadband access, and that is the area is unserved or underserved by broadband. Three, public interest, classifying the area as rural served in the public interest. Four, unincorporated areas, which any unincorporated area in New Mexico. And five, small populations, any city, town, or incorporated area with a population of 20,000 or less based on the US or tribal census. Next slide, please. Our review here, staff, the telecommunication has reviewed all parties' information regarding the the broadband fund application for consideration for the 2025-2026 broadband program support grant. Now, the broadband fund application was structured to emphasize every applicant's proposed project in its most relevant detail and have applicants submit these details together in forms of 10 attachments. Attachment A is like a list of all the address, total population, residents, business, and incorporated areas affected, the fund requested. B is total project budget. Attachment C is the network or system diagram and services. Attachment D is the design plan and documentations. Attachment E is the project plans, the project implementation plans that include specific projects completed milestones. Attachment F is operational plans and provider information. G is aerial maps, KML, KMZ files, and/or geographic information system, which is GIS shapefiles. H is a letter of support for the project within their region and area. A is commitment from the community anchor institution, which is important, and public safety networks. And finally, attachment J, which all additional documentation or information relevant to the project. Next slide, please. Now, my evaluation process is within the data points I have is the data utilization, which used in New Mexico Department of IT broadband mapping and UNM's Earth Data Analysis Center data to verify if applicants' propagation footprints, aerial map, geo shape files. Two, the collaboration, working with our partner agency of New Mexico Broadband of Access Expansion, or OBAE. Communications and maintain open communication with applicants to ensure accurate submissions. Our digital tools, which I give you guys, speaking of the commissioners, to create a digital spreadsheet with project proposals, site locations, and interactive cost estimate tab for the commission to make their decisions. And it adds a lot more decisions, a lot more information, I should say, about the actual projects and what it details. And of course, the compliance review, which evaluating each proposed based on the 17.11.10.31 NMAC criteria, including that all projects meet the standard for consideration in the selection process. Next slide, please. Now, this slide, again, like I said earlier, I had to make some slight changes because at this point, all there is the two projects that is considered as the unserved project. And this project came from New Mexico Serve, which had two projects, which basically the first project has a customer cost of $6,834.41 per customer at a requested fund of $1,014,909.38. And the second project, which would be cost per customer, would be $14,454.35, which has a requested fund request from us of $1,853,770.50, which have an accumulated fund of both of the projects of $2,868,000 $1,679.88 for New Mexico Surf. Next slide, please. Which leads me to what is new, and that is from the request from Smith Bagley. And that is the maintenance assistant request for 2025 and 26. Now, one thing I did want to say also within that package, commissioners, I have included a breakdown of they have an exhibit A that basically kind of walk you through on how they came up with this figures and information. And I put in a word of a step-by-step breakdown of that particular exhibit A. So I hope that will help clear it up, or obviously we can have internal conversations later on that. But within that graph, as you can see, the maintenance assistants are on 11 particular maintenance projects that have already been completed, but needs to have some assistance that is requested from Smith Bagley. And that one of the projects starting off is Vicente, which has a number of customers of 87, and they're requesting a $665 only for that particular location. The next would be Fence Lake, which is these are all tower locations. They have 13 customers on that, which is they're requesting a $15,633 of maintenance assistance. Lake Valley is the next with 18 total number of customers, which $25,309 that they're requesting for assistance. The following one is Timber Ridge Pineville, which have 62 customers, and they're requesting $25,415 for some assistant requests. Bicabito Tower, which is 114 number of customers on that tower, and they're requesting $50,384 for maintenance assistance. Marion Lake Tower, which is 28 customers on that. They have positive, if you notice that it's in brackets, funding on that. So they're not requesting on that. They're giving back $67,000, or I should say adding, and $71 on that. Star Lake Tower, which is 35 customers, they're requesting $70,477 for assistance. Little Water Towers is 35 customers, and they're requesting $73,667 for that particular location tower. Bisty, which is 30 customers, and they want requesting $94,306 for that tower. Casimiro Lake Tower, which is 34 customers hanging off, is $96,651. And lastly, not least, the White Rock chapter, which has 21 customers on it, which is $98,258 they're requesting, which has a total, including the unserved other two applications from New Mexico Surf, of $52,373.88 will be requested from the funding from our broadband program for this year. Next page. Next slide. Now, thank you. Again, I appreciate your time, and if you can put me back in full screen there, Patrick, I appreciate it. Again, Commissioner, Chairman Aguilera and commissioners, there is, as you can see, some changes that is require our attention and some to address a few things concerning this year program admission of application, as well as programs that that we may have some internal agency issues with. But again, I suggest that we probably will have some internal discussions between us to try to resolve on how this is going to affect this year's award and take it from there. And with this, I'll stand for any questions that you may have at this time.
Thanks for the presentation, Eugene. And just to have kind of a complete conversation about this,
Yes.
Can you go back through the available funds for the SRUSF and how much was requested and how much will be remaining as the balance? And also provide an explanation of what happens to that balance?
Okay, Patrick, are you able to get that to that third slide? Where it indicates, keep going. Right there. Okay, what was requested totally, Chairman Aguilera, for the two projects from New Mexico Serve, they requested $2,868,679.88. For the maintenance application, Bagley requested $483,694.
And
Now
sorry,
that's a
I meant
go
kind of
ahead.
just the total, all of the projects and all of the applicants combined.
That would that would be $3,352,373.88. From the total amount that we have approximately from our universal service funding of $21,989,963, according to what I am being told from Vantage Point, that we have available this year. So that leaves approximately what, 18? Maybe a little over 18 million. I can't do the math right now, but something like that nature still available inside our available funds.
Right. And then what happens to that balance?
That balance would, and more likely, if we don't use it, will roll over to the following year to be utilized from that point, or yeah, that's basically what we'll be doing according to our rules, is that it will roll over if it's not used, or or as be part of whatever comes through of disbursement awards, because we do have a span of like 3 years of every applicants and projects to do that. So it would be used in that capacity and for the following year as well.
Okay. Commissioners, any questions or comments?
My question was just, well, first, thank you for the presentation, Mr. Evans. Reminder on schedule going forward. I know we have to vote on the projects and usually it's around October, but I just wondering what the date is.
October 15th,
All
Commissioner.
right, so then open meeting schedule. That'll be October 2nd.
That is my understanding. That's that
Okay.
change, yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, well, thanks again for the presentation. As you noted, we should have some conversations about that. So, and please work with, I think Erica's the one handling these and so we can, and I know she's already talked to me about it. So thank you for the presentation.
You're welcome, Chairman Aguilar and Commissioners. Again, I will be available because I know there is, with these late developments, there's going to, be some decisions and some discussions that needs to happen within the commission. So definitely, I will be here to assist that communication.
Thank you. All right, and now we have another discussion item with Mr. Ed Rilkoff, who is the Utility Division Director. And so he's going to provide a status update and report on commission-approved resource projects.
Okay, thanks, Patrick. Chair Aguilera, Commissioner Nybert and Commissioner O'Connell. I'm providing you with the status update and one of the key goals of this presentation is to give you an understanding of the impact of the new federal changes to investment tax credits and production tax credits and their impact on New Mexico's power projects. Next slide, please, Patrick. The agenda, it's this will go quick, but excuse me. I'm going to go over the federal policy changes, key takeaways, talk a little bit about battery storage and the methodology that we're using, and get into some of the details of the projects and wrap up with the summary and conclusions. Okay, federal policy changes. This was July. OBBA, One Big Beautiful Act, limited clean energy, PTC and ITCs, production tax credits and investment tax credits. The big changes were that in order to qualify, you had to start construction by July 5th, 2026, or finish construction by December 31st, 2027. This wasn't complete, so they had to, that was the statute, so they had to make regulations around that, and they did an executive order in July, and the Treasury must enforce the credit phase outs, and they also required a Treasury notice in August to say, well, what about all the existing projects that are out there and that have various stages of grandfathering and so forth. So one of those grandfathering or safe harbor positions was called the 5% rule. And essentially you had to spend 5% of the projected project cost to qualify for the investment tax credit. And that is no longer available. That ended just on Tuesday of this week. And there is an exception for small projects under 1.5 megawatts for solar. There's also a physical work test, and that remains valid. It has to, you have to begin construction, and it's on site and off site requirements, and that gets sort of into the details of in the weeds of the program. But a key date is July 5th, 2026, a year after the act was passed. And I'm going to explain that in just a sec. But if you meet that physical work test, or if you had met that earlier 5% safe harbor test when it was available, there's the continuity safe harbor. So you get 4 years to finish your project and meet commercial operation date, and then you get the ITC or qualify for the PTC. And just to make it very clear, the way the act is set up, if you begin construction after next summer on July 5th, you have to COD by December 31st, 2027. So that's sort of a perilous path right there. The other way to do it is the preferred way right here. If you begin physical construction by July 5th, 2026, okay, you're grandfathered and you can COD within 4 years under the continuity safe harbor. And I put that little blue spot. Things are going to be different for each project, but generally, if you start in 2025, your furthest date out is December 31st, 2029. And if you do a 2026 start, the furthest day out is December 31st, 2030. And once you qualify, you receive the full 30% investment tax credit. It's one time, you get it in the COD year, or if you choose the PTC route, you get the full 10-year tax credit, and it's inflation adjusted per kilowatt hour. I wanted to mention battery storage because it's not in the OBBA, and those deadlines apply only to wind and solar. So battery storage is exempt from these phase outs. So battery storage is eligible for the 30% ITC, and they also have some bonus adder provisions, which existed before as well. It's not eligible for the PTC because it doesn't generate electricity. And this is just the same. Hybrid projects can claim PTC for generation and ITC for storage separately. And the good news here is that the timeline for storage projects is end of 2033. And it faces down in 2036. Okay, and methodology is pretty simple. We compiled the IOU project information from compliance filings and reports. We sent spreadsheets to the IOUs to get confirmation and the latest updates. So, shout out to all the colleagues on the utility side, and also Joan Drake, who helped out on another project I'm going to show you. But we just wanted to say, hey, what are the changes from what we have in the filings? And now into the details. Don't worry, I'm not going to get into a lot of details. I'm going to speak in generalities, but I did want to leave you with something that you can refer to on the projects. And if you just look at the columns, everything's pretty straightforward. Instead of in terms of docket numbers, we have the filing status, projects, resource types. Again, everything that shows a BESS in here is it doesn't, the rules don't apply in terms of these phase outs, so they're good till 2033. Good capacity, provided the original COD in the applications, and then the current COD estimates, just to give you an idea of any slippage. I put that outside, the furthest outside date is that 2031, 2030 at the top in blue, just to give you an example of how far they're away. Construction status, this is, again, I put in that key date of July 5th, 2026. Interconnection status gives you an idea of how they're doing there. And ITC, PTC eligibility, and then the safe harbor, do they have it or not? And I also asked the question, are there any tariff implications and that's a difficult question to ask, but interesting that PNM said in all the approved cases that they don't expect any tariff impact. So that's a good thing. When you look at these colors, the yellow is like the 2024 IRP filing, and the blue is the 2028 filing. And the green is just a recent filing on a 30 megawatt BESS project. But basically, PNM's approved projects are in great shape. They're all expected to make the COD deadlines and not be negatively impacted by these ITC and PTC reductions. And I just like to make one comment on new projects. PNM is going to initiate a facilitated stakeholder process this December, and it'll be filing its 2026 integrated resource plan in September of 2026. So you can see that they're not going to meet that July 5th, 2026 deadline. So that's the first impact we're going to be seeing with our utilities in terms of the phase out of these ITCs and PTCs. Again, just to mention, any battery projects won't be impacted. Quickly flipping over to SPS. SPS has more details, and I added a new column in number 5, which is state, because it's multi-jurisdictional. And you can see the blue 23-00252 projects of they've been approved and they're under construction. So if you look at column 9, you can see they've met that, that 7/5/2026 deadline. So all those projects are in great shape. They're well positioned, and they're protected by the 4-year continuity safe harbor. Now, if you go into the green section and under docket 1, all these to be determined. The SPS is about to file a lot of projects with the PRC. And if you look under number 2, under filing status, some of them are, when it says selected, those are selected under their 2024 IRP process. And then we also have projects that are selected under the new rule SB 170 with the New Mexico Economic Development Department. And they're looking to get certification of certain projects so that they can be expedited and come to the PRC, and the PRC would then have to expedite those projects. I think it's within 6 months. But effectively, we're talking about over 3,000 megawatts of new generation here. So we're talking billions of dollars of generation. And you know, it's certainly in the PRC's interest to have these projects reviewed and you know, have the decisions made on them in a very timely manner.
So is SPS interpreting it differently than you are? Because we've got quite a few battery storage projects with COD estimates well before 2030, and tariff impact is listed as possible.
Yeah. Not sure if I understand the question.
In your introduction, when you were describing the change in the federal policy, you were saying there wasn't really a change on the ITC, or actually it's, yeah, ITC for storage projects.
Okay, I think it's, and I did this as well. When I'm talking about tariffs, I'm talking about tariffs and perhaps in China on the solar panels and everything like that.
Okay, so it isn't the tax credits that they're worried about, it's the tariffs they're worried about.
Yeah, in 13, that was something I added in terms of the content of the presentation, just to get a sense of.
Well, then my question flips, is P&M gilding the lily?
I think P&M has in its projects, I think a lot of the solar panels have landed, so they're not gonna have those issues.
So P&M's better than SPS?
No, just different timing projects.
I was trying to give you an unanswerable question. I have no shame in competing one utility against another.
Okay. And yeah, so in terms of SPS, we're looking at you know, we look at number 10, and we have this interconnection status, and number 9 is the construction status. And I don't know if construction is a word, because my spell checker didn't catch it, but we have some offsite work commenced, and that may be that gets into the details of whether that satisfies the you know, the physical work requirement. But with projects that are this large and there's so many dollars involved, I think you want to meet that 7/5/2026 construction status. And not only that, if you look at the estimates of the CODs in column 8, we're looking at 2028 and then 2029, and they could push up against that commercial operation deadline. So I think that's, even though these aren't approved projects yet, this presentation is good because it alerts the PRC that you know, these project needs expedited PRC review and consideration to ensure that construction can begin and they can meet the COD deadlines and the ITC and PTC availability. Flipping over just to EPE, we have the Carne Solar and Solar project, a storage project that began in 2022, and they've originally were looking at a COD in August of 25, and that slipped a bit, and they're looking at revising their interconnection agreement. So but still, in terms of the COD estimates and the time they have to complete, that they're still okay. And another thing I like to mention is just on resources. EP filed its 2025 IRP this week, so we'll be looking at that, and you know, that resource process will start. Okay, on location control projects, we have an active project right now. And it's Painted Desert Energy that was a 23 docket, and it's 400 megawatts of solar and 200 megawatts of BESS. This project isn't serving New Mexico customers. This is going to Tucson Electric Power. And they've ran into some roadblocks. They were looking at a COD late this year, and the current estimate is now mid to late 2029. So I know they must be aware of that, and in terms of trying to meet those that COD deadline. And just finally, a quick summary and conclusion. Our PNM, SPS, and EPE, their approved projects are in good shape and pretty much within the 4-year continuity safe harbor. And which again, that December 31st, 2030 is the outside deadline on that. Again, just on SPS, they're going to be filing this 3080 of additional solar. And we have to, the ITC, PTC benefits are huge. And when I said they must begin physical work, I should qualify that and say that perhaps they might meet that under the off-site work status, but I think you really want to make sure. And the bottom line is that, again, the timely consideration of all these resource projects is essential to keep them on track. Again, you have to follow in any interconnection delays and supply chain delays and track those. And we do have in SPSs, there's some very large projects with CODs in the 2028 to 29 timeframe. So they have to be watched closely to stay within that safe harbor range. For any questions?
Yeah, to just verify, these are projects that have been approved or you're anticipating?
I gave you extra. I started with the approved, and that would be under column 2.
I guess where I'm going with that is I thought there was a EPE renewable plan project different than the Carney. Maybe my memory is failing me at the moment. But I mean, and then big picture takeaway is early bird gets the worm, right? So the reason I thought for this presentation was just to highlight if there's any situations where people need to get on it to make sure customers benefit from what's available. So do you see any of those in this stack where if the companies don't deliver the projects, there are risks? So things that require extra vigilance, or like California, Colorado, they've ordered people to speed up so that they can qualify. Do you see any of those opportunities?
Other than double checking this other renewable project, I think that our utilities have done a good job in terms of expediting their projects, and all their approved projects are in good shape right now with the big thing they have to do is meet the safe harbor, and that gets them in the queue, and then they have to actually execute, and they're all doing a good job. So I don't see any issues with the 3 IOUs and their approved projects.
I thought maybe there was some uncertainty with respect to SPS's projects that have not been filed. There's this construction status that says offsite work commenced, and so I misunderstood, but I kind of heard that maybe this qualifies, maybe it doesn't.
Yeah, well, that's I think when I put on slide number 3, there's this physical work test, and it involves on-site and off-site significant work. And from the information, I see off-site work commenced, but I'm not 100% sure that it actually meets the requirement, within the rules. And that's why I said it'd be good to meet that 7/5/2026 construction, target, just to make double sure that you're getting these, where we're talking, billions of dollars of projects and potential billion, or more of ITC and PTC credits. So you want to make sure you qualify, and that's why I said, it would be good to meet that July deadline.
And do you see anything that the commission should do with respect to that filing? I know we don't have that filing.
I believe that the filing is going to be here filed within a couple of weeks. And I know it's already been, some of the projects have been filed with New Mexico EDD for their certification process. And then that comes to us, and then we have the expedited process. So I think in terms of what we can do is that we take all these projects and I think this would be, well, it'd be the largest resource filing I've seen in terms of making sure, we've already started talking about how to address it and get through it efficiently and within that 6-month timeframe.
Thank you. Well, I thank you for this. This is very helpful information, and information that Kai's been helping me gather, and it's good to see it all in one place. Appreciate you taking a look, and certainly I think Commissioner O'Connell asked for this, and thank you for doing that. This is important for us to make sure that we're doing what we can on behalf of New Mexico ratepayers, to make sure that they can avail themselves of opportunities.
Yeah, it's funny because this request kind of evolved over time. It was kind of a broad, and we were thinking about bench requests, but just saying this because it's one of these examples where I think we're getting better at our job as it evolved to what it became, which was requests for utility division staff to give us an update. And so not everything has to be a legal filing. And so anyway, appreciate how that happened. And then, you already thanked the folks that worked with you to produce it. So anyway, trying to get to a world where we're, again, like I said earlier in this meeting, working things out, and it's not always a legal situation.
And this looks good for the IRP periods that we've been dealing with lately, but obviously we have IRPs that will apply to for periods beyond what we're seeing here in this. And so looks good for these, but for an IRP that's looking for resources in 2028, 29, 30, that kind of thing, then it'll be a different story. But yeah. And then I did have just one quick question with respect to the tariff impact. Is that something that you received, information you received from the utility? Yeah. Okay.
Sort of, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So should we interpret that if there is a tariff impact, it'll be a pricing change request?
Yeah, if it was significant, I would imagine so.
What are the odds it will be reduce the price?
Don't those normally get allocated to equity? Just kidding. Well, stuff that I shouldn't joke about at open meetings, right? So thank you for the presentation.
Thank you.
Oh, long meeting today. Next, we have communications with Chief of Staff.
Good afternoon, commissioners. I think the big news is that today we're saying goodbye to the Bochum building and it sounds like it's fighting back a little. But please, join me in thanking all of the staff that has been working tirelessly. I'm sure as you pass some of us in the hallway, you see a little bit of like shell shock and hollowed eyes because the team downstairs has just been working day in and day out to get us ready to be officially out of this place. So today is our last day as an open building to the public. Tomorrow, the building will be closed, the network will be shut down. And so there will be no more work happening out of the Bochum building. On Monday, our temporary Santa Fe office and temporary, I'm going to use in kind of air quotes because we're there until our other building gets refurbished, but our temporary space will be open for use for employees and for meetings and for the public, although it's a small space. And so we will watch how that develops. We do plan on having an open house there, but we're going to give it a week or two, one to let the rest of the move to the Albuquerque space happen, and also to make sure that all of the art and other pieces that need to be hung on the walls are hung on the walls. Because right now, on Monday, it'll be open, but it might not be super pretty. So that is making progress. As of tomorrow, the rest of the building move to our Albuquerque offices will commence, and we are targeting an open date for that office of the 22nd. So Santa Fe space will be open on Monday. Albuquerque space still looking good to be open on the 22nd. And there will be open houses in both locations, both for employees and for the public to come and see where we're going to be doing business. So that's very exciting. And we look forward to that going as smoothly as it has been. Again, thank you to Miranda and Eldon, Lori, Melanie, Justin, Janine, everybody who's been pitching in. And also I want to say thank you to the rest of the PRC staff because we've been doing a really good job of being critically thinking about what it is that we have to move and what it is that we don't have to move, getting rid of copies of things that we don't need 17 copies of, just keeping the record proper and keeping the stuff that's required as a state agency. Really appreciate everybody who's been digging in and making progress to that so that when we move, it really is kind of a fresh start. Very proud to be a part of this team. So thank you for your support and thank you to the entire staff that's been pitching in to make that happen. The other thing that's happening, because the time doesn't stop, even if sometimes we wish it would, is we have a firm date for the 2025 PRC seminar. I've been getting a lot of questions as to whether we're going to be doing it again, and the answer is yes. This will be the third year. It's already held on your calendars because I've been working with Jennifer, but December 1st and 2nd, we will be at the Roundhouse. For those of you who are not familiar with the seminar, this, like I said, will be our third year. It's twofold. One, it's an opportunity for practitioners and industry in utility regulation to get together and talk about issues that are pressing and of interest to us. It's also shamelessly a cheap way to get CLE credits for all of our attorneys and for any attorney who practices in the area. So we will cover all 12 required CLE credits for our attorneys. In the past, we've been working with the engineer on the commission, Commissioner O'Connell, to make sure that the ethics credits count for engineers as well. I anticipate that will continue to happen. Our topic this year is regulating our title, excuse me, I should say, is regulating utilities for the future, innovation and practice. Since we've been on this sort of inflection point for our utilities, the team thought that would be a great place to look at various issues in the utility practice and how innovation can move us forward there or how it might affect us. And last but not least, I'm excited to announce and thank OGC and Robert in particularly because our energy efficiency rule 17.7.2 is officially published and therefore law as of August 26th. So well done to the team and everyone else who contributed to that and worked on it. That one is through the gate. So with that, I stand for questions.
I just had a quick one on the building and again, thank you for appreciating folks, and it's funny because I hope this isn't our last move, right? Because we're trying to get to the better digs in Santa Fe, but I think we shouldn't scare people and say that's around the corner. We're gonna do this again, but maybe just not tomorrow, right? So, but that question is Albuquerque space. We've got potential for hearing room type setup. But my understanding is that was going to require some tenant improvement or remodeling, and it wouldn't be available till sometime in January. Is that still true?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner, that's still the plan. The office space will be available in Albuquerque. Starting tomorrow, we'll start moving furniture that way. But the hearing room in Albuquerque is being essentially created from scratch for us. And so that build out is also happening, but that's going to take much longer. So we're estimating no later than January.
Yeah, and then I mean, we're going to be. Sounds like having most of our hearings in Santa Fe or open meetings in Santa Fe at MNerd or some other location, but after that becomes available, we might have opportunity as a plan B or C option down in Albuquerque.
Thank you. And just want to emphasize the thank you that you mentioned to all the staff who's doing so much work to get us moved. And, you know, I mentioned to Eldon, every time I walk down there, I see him carrying a box. And so I'm sure it's a different box and he's not just walking around with one box, but yeah, there's a lot of work going on. So thank you.
I wouldn't be surprised if he has gone nuts, but.
Okay, and so communications with commissioners, and this is one of our longer meetings in a while. Seems like it used to happen quite often. Next weekend, I think we're all going to be there. I'll be at there's a Western Commissioners Summit that's going to be held in Scottsdale. And so I looked at the list of Western commissioners, and it's I maybe like 80% of them at least. It seemed like there was a lot. And so looking forward to that. And I signed up for the tour at the Palo Verde nuclear station, and looking forward to that. It'll be interesting. I've never done a tour of a nuclear facility. So and have CREPC coming up in late September, early October. That's going to be in Portland. So I'll be there. And then there's also the NARUC meeting in Seattle. I have not signed up for that yet, and that's in November, but I'm considering whether I need to attend that meeting as well. Probably forgetting some things, but oh yes, I already mentioned that I'll be going to that IRLE training, and that's in October, and there's a lot of pre-work to do for that and pre-reading, and kind of regretting signing up for that at this point, but it's too late. Yep.
I was joking with Commissioner Nybert that every commissioner reads absolutely every page of that pre-reading, which isn't true, but no. Yeah, I don't know if anybody succeeds in reading all of it, but it's funny because those readings, every single one of them you pick up is like, well, I'm glad they put that on my path. But so anyway, similar to you, the next thing up is this Western Conference of Commissioners. It's a commissioners only meeting that happens around the country. It just hasn't happened in the West in recent memory. So looking forward to that. And that'll be next week. And then last week, John Bagecko and I were at this conference called Western Power Players. It overlapped with another conference that conference designers host for legislators. So we were with some legislators from New Mexico for Tuesday evening, Wednesday morning. And so that was great to see. You know, I hadn't spent much time interacting with legislators as a group. Takeaway from the conference was the things we think are important and what you'll see on the agenda for the December event that Choi has passed out are the same topics everybody's talking about, and we talked a lot about it this week. Data centers, large loads, fire. One of the things that was kind of interesting to me was the legislators apparently had spent a lot of time trying to wrap their arms around what a regional transmission organization is, because it's a topic that we know about out west because we've been working on it. Just listening to what some of the legislature slators were saying, not the New Mexico legislators, but from other states, they didn't seem to have a really solid grasp of what an RTO is and what it does. So we'll see that maybe we'll have some opportunities to talk to legislators and maybe as soon as December 1st and 2nd. But so anyway, that was something I learned. Plus just, it helps to get different points of view from folks that are looking at the problem very differently than we are. So that happened. Then next week, Scottsdale. And then recently I got an invitation to provide just what's the PRC and what's our role on in economic development. So governor's going to host a conference on that. The date is September 24th, I believe. So looking forward to that. And then I'm going to kick off the electric power in the Southwest conference. That's another CLE opportunity for lawyers. It'll be in Santa Fe on Monday, September 22nd. So, yeah, first day of the Albuquerque office, I'll be up here in Santa Fe. And then, yeah, you mentioned Crepsey YRAB in Portland quite a bit there. And then just big picture, my work portfolio is evolving. I'm president at RSC, but that's only through the end of the year, thank God. And then I'm hoping that Commissioner Nybert will transition on to RSC for SPP. Then I've also, you saw the notice, the FERC NARUC collaboration. Lots of fresh blood on that, including 2 new folks from the West, which is great, I think, in terms of keeping the conversation moving and that type of thing. But that also means it frees up some time for me. And then I, as part of that process, stepped away from being vice chair of the ERE committee. So I'm still on the committee, just not vice chair. So again, frees up some time. So I'm just previewing by the end of the year. I think we're ripe for just conversation on individual commissioner work portfolios. There's things will be ramping up out west with Markets Plus, and then you're involved in BOSER. Pathways might kick off and create another thing that we should participate in. Don't know. So anyway, next year I will have space on my dance card for new things. Not that I'm volunteering for anything. Back off, Mr. Chair, but yeah.
No, I was just gonna say, I think that's a really good idea to have that conversation. And yeah, I've been on some of the committees that I've been on for a while, and yeah, maybe there's an opportunity to switch around as well.
Well, I too will be in Scottsdale, and I'll miss the next meeting in person. I'll be attending virtually. I'll be at the Energy Council with a number of our legislators up there 2 weeks from today. This move is a very, very difficult thing, because living out of a car, and I saw the chair coming in with his jacket and things today. It's been tough on everybody, and we appreciate everyone's patience with not just this move, but the few more moves that we will negotiate in the next hopefully less than year. maybe more. Oh. So, well, yeah. I guess it may be more than a year, but anyway, we do appreciate everybody's patience with the move and extend our thanks to everybody who's been involved with that process and getting their cards in. I guess they're due today or tomorrow and give up access to the building, which is very joyous for me because it's this building I've noted from day one has been difficult for any agency to be working out of. So I look forward to the day when we have a permanent space that's suitable for us. I won't prolong the other meetings, but did want to note that thank everybody who participated in our workshops earlier this week. We had great participation here in Santa Fe yesterday on wildfire. And again, thanks to Mac Lee for putting that together and leading that effort. And we have a number of other things on the plate that we'll be dealing with. Just appreciate everybody's patient with us as we undergo this transformation into new space. Thanks, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. And just one last thing, I know we all want to, go get some lunch, but we received a couple of comments today on the Melody Ranch, and I know there's a lot of work going on, and I know that the advocacy staff here is doing a lot of work on that. And one of the directives that we included in our order was a mediation on, potential for other entities to take over. And one of the commenters mentioned that they haven't received any updates. And so I think it could be beneficial to receive an update into the record on kind of how the mediation is going. And also wanted to mention that it might be good to have space on our website where customers of Melody Ranch could just click on and kind of see the record, and so that they know that they're not being ignored. We're doing what we can, and yeah, we received these comments, and just people are very respectful and composed, and just after dealing with all of that, I'm not sure that I'd be able to do that. And so, I was thinking maybe that's one way that we could make sure that we're communicating, is having a spot on the website. So maybe that's possible. And so that's something that yeah. Okay. So that was it. I think we're ready to adjourn then. We're adjourned.